Welcome, everyone. So we have my fingers and my face today on today's day 5 of the 12-day sweater challenge. And we're in the meat of the challenge, and that's when we work on the body of the sweater. It takes the longest. We're working in the round with 2 strands of turquoise yarn. This is called Ella Ray Woolly, W-O-O-L-I-E. And it's an acrylic and wool blend. Very machine washable. And I'm using size 19 needles. And I'm just going to knit around and around until it gets long enough to go to the underarms. And I'll be with you today for a half an hour, and I have a feeling that I'm just going to be doing this. Just going to be working on this color for a half an hour. So I've had some tunes playing the other days of this challenge. If you want to comment and make a suggestion for tunes to play on a future day, I'll definitely take those. So I played record albums. I think day 1 was Frank Sinatra and Duke Ellington. And let's see, day 2 was the Talking Heads. And, technically day 1 was our kickoff party. Day 2, Frank Sinatra, Duke Ellington. Day 3, Talking Heads. Day 4 was yesterday, Cyndi Lauper, the True Colors album. And those were all vinyl. And so let me know who you want to hear next. In a few minutes, I'm going to post a question that I got. So on Thursday night, we're having an Ask Me Anything about knitting. And so I have so many questions to answer that I'm going to answer a few of them ahead of time. But if you want your question answered, you can either leave it in the comments or you can email me, info@thespinninghand.com. And then Thursday night, we're going to have a live Ask Me Anything, and I'm going to explain to you what Knit and Crochet U is all about. And we're going to give away a full scholarship to KCU. So the fall semester will start in September. We just finished up the spring semester, and I'm about to send the final pattern to the KCU students. So what will happen is in the fall, you'll have access to the entire knitted sweater pattern and course because we have just recorded it and we've just put it in the can, as they say, this spring. And then in the fall, we're launching the crochet sweater, which is a different pattern. It's all crocheted, and it's meant for people who can do the basics of crochet. So if you can chain stitch, do a half double crochet, do that kind of thing, then you can do this sweater. And if you don't know how to do those things, you have all summer long to learn. And maybe what I'll do is put up some tutorials. So if you're new to crocheting, you'll be ready by the time we get started in September. So I live near 2 daycares. I live near a YMCA, which has childcare during the day. And then I live near another childcare center. So the YMCA is kind of in my backyard. And then next door to us, there's another childcare center. And I think they had like a preschool graduation this morning, because when I was getting ready for this live stream, I could hear Pomp and Circumstance playing. And then it was very clearly playing like on a boombox or something. And then I could hear all these small children sort of shouting different things that were meant to be songs. and parents cheering loudly. So made me think of when my own son, quote, graduated, unquote, from nursery school. I remember feeling a little bit like, we're making maybe a big deal out of this, but he was adorable. He got all dressed up, a little tie, a little shirt, a little yarmulke. It's a Jewish preschool. And I would say about 40% of the kids in the class were not Jewish. We were among that 40%, but we did learn a lot about Jewish culture, and it was a wonderful preschool. Still is. And I remember Andrew was little, and he would say to me, Mom, if you clean my room, that would be a very good mitzvah. I said, nice try, kid. You have to clean your own room. So you might know how to do this already, but I want to show you how to count your rows. So right now I have 5 rows of aqua. You count the one that's on the needle, and then the one hugging it below that, that's the next row down. And then 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 rows, or rounds, because I'm working in the round. 5 rounds of blue. It can be a little trickier to count when you have 2 strands at once. It can be a little trickier to knit when you have 2 strands at once. I can feel this yarn tangling, so I'm going to take a minute and smooth it out in just a moment. Yeah, so you can see that. So we're going to work that out right now. So I have 2 balls of yarn down on the floor here. There. Just kind of smooth that out and wrap it around. I like to use 4 fingers. Wrap it around a little bit and then turn 90 degrees. And wrap around some more. So this gives a little bit of breathing room inside the center pull ball, which is what we're making. And so the 2 strands that are connected to the knitting will pull out of the center here. And you don't want to wind it too tight. Not that this yarn will crinkle, it won't, but you still don't want it too tight because then you can't pull the center out of the ball. Now I can't go all the way winding these 2 balls of yarn together because it'll just be ginormous. But a nice softball size feels about right. Okay. Yep, and we're still pulling out smoothly. And let's get back to knitting. So it's been a busy Monday morning already. I'm working on the pattern for the Paris mitts. They're fingerless gloves, and the yarn is hand dyed by my friend Canette, owner of Yarnette. And it's for our knitting subscription club. So I have about 50 something subscribers. And so I send out to them each month or each quarter a new knitting kit with the pattern that I've written and the yarn. And if they upgrade to deluxe, they get the needles as well, or the hooks if it's a crochet project. So I was working on the Paris mitts, and I'm excited about this project because I made several videos, a video series, in fact, to correspond with the pattern. So I really like to try to reach all different kinds of learners. So for the visual learners, we have a chart. And for people who like to read the instructions and have everything written out step by step, we have the written instructions. And then for auditory learners as well, we have video instructions, obviously with sound. And it really guides you through this pattern, which, you know, you use circular needles for the fingerless mitts, but the pattern is worked flat. And the reason that we're using circular needles is because there are 2 slip stitch rows. And so what you do is you knit with one color, and then you slide all the stitches back to the front of the needles, and then you knit and slip stitches with the second color. I'm really happy with how the pattern turned out, but it took me several tries. So I knitted an entire mitt, and it really didn't work. It was too fiddly. And so I started over and adjusted, and finally it's just right. And I'm excited about this one because it's something that I can have Canet dye yarn in other colors, and it feels like a go-to. It feels like one that I would make lots of things using this pattern. It's it holds your interest. So it has color work, but it's simple color work, and then it has the slip stitches. I really like the way the pattern turns out. So that's what I was working on this morning, and uploading the different tutorial videos to YouTube so that when our subscribers get the kit, they have the pattern, they have the yarn, and then they have the link to the playlist, and they can go through, not quite row by row, but close at the beginning, and really learn how to do this pattern. And then I had my young friend Drew come and help me. He's finished, I think, his sophomore year at Lafayette, which is in Easton, PA. And he's been helping me. This might be the 4th year, definitely the 3rd year. He's been helping me since he was in high school. And we packed up some beautiful orders. Lots of kits today. And so we sent out some rainbow market bag kits. That's the current project that's going out before the Paris Mitts releases. And so rainbow market bag kits, and then yarn. We had some Etsy sales. I've been putting my oddballs of yarn, my odd skeins, on Etsy. So if you look for the spinning hand on Etsy, that's where you can find those goodies. I've been putting up some new Plucky Knitter yarn that I bought last year. I'm finally getting around to putting it up. And we sold a Learn to Knit kit on Etsy, which is great. Always love welcoming new knitters to the fold. So Drew helped me pack everything up, and then I sent him to the post office, and right next to the post office is the Able Baker, so we put in our Able Baker order. Danny got a snickerdoodle, and I got an iced chai, unsweetened, which is nice. And then when he brought it home, I know this is more information than you need, but I added my iced coffee, hence a dirty iced chai, which I may grab in a moment and have a sip. So I'm coming to you from New Jersey today, and it's nice and cool. I think it's going to be, 75 or something. We do have the AC on in the other room, but I was able to close the door so that you didn't hear that blowing. And I think after after our live session today, I'll probably walk into town and do a little bit more design work right from town. All right, let me get my drink. So here are the Paris mitts that I was just talking about. Take my ring off so it doesn't snag. So it's this lovely window pane pattern. And they're just very satisfying, quick to knit, just a couple, well, depending on how familiar you are with color work and slip stitches. I was going to say just a couple hours on Netflix, but it really depends. Okay. So let's talk about design and inspiration. So Joan, who's one of our KCU students and a lovely, lovely person, she asked me, how do you come up with ideas for your knitwear designs? And that's such a nice question. It's such a creative question. And there are many answers. Let me just change it over here. So there are different design processes that I use when I am coming up with inspiration for garments, like sweaters, like this one, versus accessories, like the Paris mitts. So with the Paris mitts, I had the yarn and I had a limited number of yards and 2 colors. And so I wanted something that was balanced with the 2 colors, wanted something that used as much yardage as possible, but didn't make you run out of yarn. And, you know, so there's all these constraints when you're doing a subscription box, making sure you have value for the customers, but then also not like wildly expensive, because people pay for a year's worth of kits and then, you know, so it's not like I can just charge them a little extra when I add more yarn. So there's that fixed cost. And I want it to be something a little different that, you know, like I probably wouldn't do a stockinette stitch hat because you could get that pattern anywhere. So I do. So that's one thing, is like, what are the constraints? For most of my adult life, I was broke. And so the cost of yarn and the quantity of yarn that I had was a constraint. And so you'll see a lot of color work in my previous designs because I would have one skein of this or one skein of that. I wouldn't be buying blanket quantity or sweater quantity yarn in one color. So blessings have rained upon me, and now I can afford to get multiple skeins of one color. But I still love color work. And so I'm very influenced by other designers. So just like in any art form, I'm inspired by other designers and other artists, actually, outside of knitting, of course. One of the things that I love to do, and I really haven't done it for a while, so I need to do it again, is go to a museum. The ones near me are the Montclair Art Museum, the Newark Museum, and then, of course, in the city, an endless number of museums. And I love going to the Met so much and sitting and sketching and just drawing inspiration from colors. The Costume Institute at the Met, Vogue. I subscribe to Vogue and I just look at what's trending. I look at Pantone color trends. to see what colors are coming up in the next seasons. So right now, as you can see, it's June and I'm knitting a sweater for the fall, winter. So I'm 6 months ahead now, and then someday I aspire to be like a year ahead and maybe even more. But because I'm human and I get distracted by shiny things, when it's summer, I'm like, oh, I want to make something now for the summer that I can wear right away. And so it's a discipline to put on the AC and knit a sweater in June. But we'll be so happy in the fall and winter because we'll have these gorgeous sweaters. So lots of places for inspiration. And I do find that travel is my favorite way to gather inspiration. Both places that I've been to several times, so like going to Cape Cod in the summer, which I'm very lucky to be able to do, and just soaking up the pale blues and aquas and sand colors and everything sort of sun-drenched. I love that. And the seashells and all of it. And then the bright navy and white crisp stripes and reds and, so sort of the Americana of it all. And then, in the fall, going to Rhinebeck, going to the Sheep and Wool Festival and getting inspiration from nature. So I would say my biggest challenge is limiting the designs and the colors that I would have in any one collection. So I think it's best practice to have a nice tight edit. So you have pastel colors in this collection, or you have neon and black. And it's so hard for me because I know it's hard for a lot of people, but by the time you're done with that collection, you're so tired of pastels or whatever it is. You just never want to see another pastel. But of course, to your customers, it's new and exciting and fresh. So yeah. It's pretty rare that I really get tired of things, but that's when I go ahead and have other people help me knit and crochet the items so that I can go ahead and design the next fancy shiny thing. Yeah, so very fun. If you have a question that you'd like answered in one of our Ask Me Anythings, be sure to put it in the comments, or you can email me, info@thespinninghand.com. We're going to have a live session on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, so 4 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. And I'm going to give away a scholarship. So it's a $660 value to Knit and Crochet U. That's our lifetime access to our Knitting University and Crochet University. And I'm hoping you'll get to meet Verna. She is the designer of our crochet sweater. It's almost done. We're going to have a modeling session on Wednesday. And the yarn is beautiful. It's a DK weight alpaca from Peru called Indicita. And it comes in a variety of soft heathered colors. So very nice for fall, winter. It's going to end up being, I think, a 3-season sweater that you'll be able to pull on in the spring as well. And as long as you can chain stitch and do things like half double crochet, increase or decrease in crocheting, you'll have success with this sweater. I told my current KCU students it's much simpler than the knitted sweater is for KCU. That sweater is, I'd call it intermediate. One thing I do in KCU is I assess, not in some sort of like pre-test way, but I just ask you, what is your desired level? Like how do you want to be taught? Do you want things fed to you? Feed me. Do you want to figure it out yourself? Or, do you need like very, 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 intensive step-by-step? Oh, hi, Jean. Good to see you. And Jean's question is, I see that you throw over your yarn with your left hand. I do it with my right. Does this make a difference? Seems that it would. I don't think it does. So I knit. That's such a good question. Let me pop that up. So we're going to say, does it make a difference how you throw your yarn? So Jean, it's been a while since I've done the English style, but so English style is considered to be actually more proper than what I do. Although I think we're kind of beyond that in 2024. So when you insert the yarn and you throw with your right hand, and by throw, I just mean like wrap around. And seems the stitches should go in different directions. But yeah, I know it seems that way, but they don't. So they still, they're still straddling the needle the same way. So I'm going like that in the left hand and same way. If I were going that way with the right hand, then it would mess things up. But yeah. And so for people who are new to knitting, beginner knitters, and you're like, I don't know, like which way I'm wrapping the yarn around and that kind of thing, like you just worry about getting stitches on the needle, and then you can think about like, do I prefer to use my right hand? Do I prefer to use my left hand? Don't let anyone tell you, oh, this is an incorrect way. Yeah, you're welcome, Jean. You do what makes you feel most comfortable. Now, I crocheted for a very long time before I learned to knit. I didn't learn to knit until I was in my 20s. And so I was used to crocheting, holding the yarn, giving tension with this left index finger. So I think that's why it's so active in my knitting. I have found other crocheters who say that, yes, this is the way that they knit as well. This is called the German or continental style. And it's, in the olden days, was done by commoners. Commoners like me. Okay, so we are going to close things up in just a minute. I would love it if you would join me again tomorrow. I will cast on the second sleeve, or I might do the shaping for the underarms. We'll see how the mood strikes. But both things need to be done. Oh yeah, Jean says, I've been knitting that way for a long time. Too late to change. Absolutely. Yeah, if you're getting the fabric you want, that is all good. I just taught my husband to knit over Christmas, and I'd love to get him loosened up a little bit. He knits pretty tight, but that's fine. He's a KCU student as well, and the back of his sweater is looking very nice. Very nice indeed. All right. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And I hope to see you Thursday night during our live Ask Me Anything. Have a great day. Bye.